top search firms, top executive search firms, basically try to find the best of the best talent in the market. And those so-called top candidates are not more than 10% or plus minus 10%. So the question is that which segment you belong to? Are you part of the 10% or are you part of the 90%? Now, if you are part of the 90%, you have never had any contact from those search firms. Is it good news or a bad news? Of course, it's a bad news. And this ratio, by the way, would not change. Going forward, it's not going to change. Because as I said, everybody cannot be a top candidate. So top candidate would remain somewhere around plus minus 10%. But here is the good news. You can decide yourself whether you want to be part of the 90% or 10%. As I said, it will not change, but you can change it for yourself. So if you decide to become part of the 10%, that's in your control. And with that numbers, it becomes a good news because 90% who would remain part of that segment, they would face the challenge. But if you are able to move yourself in the 10%, that becomes an advantage. That becomes a competitive advantage because you would not be competing with 90%. You're only competing within 10%. That's the reason that those top 10% candidates do not have to make much efforts. So it was counterintuitive for many people that they are not making many efforts and we are making so many efforts and these top candidates are really being hired very easily. That's the advantage of being within 10%. You can be part of the 10%. You can decide for yourself and you can do the necessary work to transition. So there is a good news and bad news. The only reality or harsh reality is that the 90-10 percentage is not going to change, but you could change it for yourself because that's entirely in your control. So this is what the search industry is doing. They are only looking at the top talent. And as I said, this reflects 90-10 ratio, that there are a lot of people, they have no time to go through each and every one. So the process has been reversed. In earlier times, it was initiative on the part of the candidates that, okay, employers or recruiters would announce the job and looking at the job boards, candidate would apply. So more is up to the candidates to really make the first move. But that game has reversed. Recruiters and employers are not posting jobs anymore publicly. So they do have the requirement, but they look at the market themselves and pick the right people. Why this has changed? Because of the information revolution. Internet has provided that capability to them to look at the thousands and millions of candidates and pick what they want to pick. In earlier times before internet era, it was not possible for them. So they would advertise the jobs. They would post on the job boards and among out of the millions of candidates, people will apply for those jobs. And that is how the process would start. It is reversed now. So there is more power in the hands of employers and recruiters than candidates. Now, why would they look at the top talent? Let's see, for example, LinkedIn, which is the main platform nowadays for all recruitment and hiring and employment. There are 560 million people on LinkedIn. Now, recruiters or search firms or employers don't have time to go through 560 million people. So they look through the top profiles. The search functionality is very robust, and they have some advanced functionality through some paid arrangement with LinkedIn to look only the top candidates. Search firms or executive recruiters, when they get an assignment from their client to find a director level or C level or a senior role, they basically are expected to produce 2 or 3 candidates as a final round of selection, 2 or 3. Then client would make a decision who among the 2 or 3 candidates they are going to recruit. In order to find the final 2 and 3 candidates they want to place or present to their clients, they only need 50-60 candidates. They don't need 560 million people. They need 50-60 good prospective candidates to start with. And they could easily find these 560 people themselves, right? They don't need to make an advertisement for it. You do a search criteria and you run through LinkedIn, and in 5 minutes you have those 560 people, maybe more. So that's the leverage they have. And we as candidates, we need to work with that. It's a little challenging, but we need to work with that. It's a competitive world. It's going to be more competitive. So let's step back and again try to understand the big picture a little bit better. What is the job search process actually? So now I'm talking from a candidate point of view. In job search process, there are only two steps. Let's understand that very clearly. Number one, your objective is getting an interview, number one, and getting a job, number two. That's it. Very simple, straightforward, right? Now, majority of the candidates making a mistake is mixing up the two. When they start the process, they start with an objective to getting a job. So the biggest mistake most candidates do at any level is dumping the flood of information on their resumes and CVs. Now, their concern is right. They don't want to miss any important information which is required for a hiring decision. But look, that step is not for getting a job. That step when you are sending your resume or your CV is only to get an interview. And what happens as a result, because of this common mistake, recruiters and employers pass on those resumes. They don't have the time to go through line by line. They just glance through. Average time a recruiter spend on a resume is 10 to 15 seconds. So you need to design the CV and resume in such a manner that in 10, 15, 20 seconds, they could get the best impression. To understand this better, take the analogy of a movie and movie trailer. So movie usually 2 to 3 hours, right? Long. And before you go to movie, you really want to ensure that's a good movie. So the movie marketers create trailers. Those movie trailers are only 1 minute, 2 minutes, very short, right? So you look at few trailers before deciding which movie you need to watch. Now, what they do smartly on their movie trailers, they only take the best scenes from the movie, best music from the movie, best shots, best dialogues, best of the best, and they squeeze into 1 to 2 minute movie trailer, right? So you look at the movie trailer and you develop a perceived value and say, this movie looks very good. And how many times it happened that you were very impressed looking at a trailer and the movie become very flop or very boring, right? But it works very well. So think of your resume and CV as a movie trailer, not a movie trailer. Take the best shots from your life, from your career. Take the best achievements, the best thing you have done, best thing you have accomplished, best education, best trainings, and put it on your resume and CV. Don't worry about putting a lot of information, just the glimpses, just the things which could really impress the reader. Because your purpose and objective at this stage is to get an interview. Now, once you get an interview, getting a job even easier than getting an interview. And that may surprise you, but that's the reality. So let me take you a little deeper into these two steps because it's very crucial for you to understand it. So getting an interview, what do you need to do? Based on whatever we have talked about so far, you need to be found. You don't need to find jobs, but you need to be found as a candidate. And the employers and recruiters will find you. In order to create that possibility that you are found, what you need to do, you need to create your visibility, that they should be able to see you, right? So you would say that, look, I already have a LinkedIn profile, but nobody is finding me, right? Well, it's not enough. As I said, there are 560 million people on LinkedIn. So you should be visible. And I'll explain you in detail which are the social media you need to be there, what networking you need to do, but you need to be easily findable, number one. But there are a lot of people could be found, right? Second thing is that visibility should also reflect a very strong personal brand. So when recruiters are searching through the 560 million, your profile should come up, number one, but it should come up very strongly. You should be able to distinct yourself from your other competitors, because the job you are looking for, the job you are searching for, there may be 5,000 people who are capable of doing that job, and maybe all of those are competing with that. So the best way to compete is really branding. That's what the business world do. By creating a brand, they easily sell their product, whether it's needed or not. And not only sell, but they also command a higher price because of the brand premium. The same science applies to personal marketing. So in order to do an effective branding, you need to do a lot of personal marketing, by the way. Don't worry about functional expertise and your qualification and education. You need to become a self marketer in today's time. If you really want to get a good job, you need to become a self marketer. Now, everybody is not a marketer. I understand that. Mainly for the finance professional, we never dealt with marketing or selling before. But look, as I said, these are the challenging times. This is the harsh reality we need to face, and we need to survive. Not only survive, we need to thrive in this market, and we can do it. We can learn it very quickly, very easily. So that's what I'm trying to teach you, that it's all possible and you can do it. So this is the first step. As I said, second step would be easier if you do the right things on your first step, creating your visibility, making available where it is relevant, not really sending your CV and resume to 5,000 places, but making it available. Look what we are talking about. You are passively available. So the beauty of LinkedIn is that you're not applying for a job. There are a lot of people who are just very well settled, happy in their jobs, but their profile is there because that profile is passively working for them. And as I said last time, 90% of the professionals, according to the survey from LinkedIn, are open to new opportunities. And recruiters and employers know it very well. So they don't really ask people first whether they are open to job or not, or new opportunity. They don't ask this question. They assume if they contact someone as a prospective candidate, they know that there are 90% chances that person would be interested to talk. That's always happened. They don't need to ask that permission. From your side, you need to make your profile available in the assumption that recruiters and employers would think the same way, that you are available, but you are not actively applying, right? You are not actively sending your resumes and CVs, but you are available. That's the beauty of LinkedIn. So you need to do those steps very smartly and effectively, and also a lot of personal marketing. Now, how would you make yourself visible among the millions and millions of professionals that would be able to achieve through your personal marketing? So marketing involves a lot of things. It involves networking, it involves relationship, it involves personal branding. We can talk about those things later in detail, but you need to understand the big picture here, that these are the two steps. So if you are lucky enough, or if you did your job correctly, then there are high probability that some recruiters or employers would contact you on their own. You may have an email message in your LinkedIn, or a text message somewhere, or an email, or maybe a phone call. Many times they directly call you. And the way they start, they don't really jump on that, I have a job, are you interested? They just ask you as a networker that, look, I have this CFO opening. Do you know anyone who is interested? That is how they start the conversation. And as soon as you take interest, they said, you or anyone else, you also have a good profile. So they gradually make progress. But if you are smart, you understand what their intention is. So assuming that you get that message and you show your interest that, yes, I'm willing to look further into it. It's not an offer, by the way, and it's not a reply of acceptance or rejection from your side. It's just starting a conversation with a recruiter or search firm, right? Let's assume that things progress and they are now interested to present you to the client, or the client themselves, they want to meet you in person or phone, right? That's a good news. That's a very, very good news, because once you receive a formal call for an interview, it means that the employer or the hiring manager have gone through your credentials, have gone through your CV and resume, and they think that you qualify for the job. No employer and recruiter and hiring manager would invite you for a interview unless they believe that you can do the job. So you need to develop a mindset that all your background, qualification, experience is clear. You qualify for the job. So what they want to accomplish during the interview, very important to understand here. When they looked at your profile, when they looked at your CV, when they looked at your resume, they develop a perceived value in their mind. Perceived value, because they don't know you, they haven't met you, but they are looking at your credentials and your achievement and whatever you have mentioned in your profile. And based on that information, they are developing a perception that probably you're the right candidate, right? Now, making an offer is a very important decision. So before they do it, they want to meet you in person. Why? Just to verify that whether their perceived value matches with your reality or not. Very simple. That's the only purpose. They already have in their mind that you probably are the person to be offered a job. but they just want to talk to you, meet you in person to ensure that what they thought about you, your personality, your offering reflect that match with the reality. That's the only purpose. So in this process, once you're already in the interview process, now your objective turns into getting a job. And how you get a job or how an offer is made, extremely simple. What happens that when you go for the interview, they basically during the interview process, whether it's an in person or through any other means, they just want to verify your personal brand as they have perceived, right or wrong. They want to verify that. And despite all different means available to them, there is one very simple, very common method they adopt. Most of the employers and hiring manager is talking to you through interview, just a conversation, right? If you have done interviews before, then you know what I'm talking about. During those conversation, you are talking very well, very smoothly, very fluently. You are enjoying, and they're also enjoying the conversation. And during that conversation, a sweet spot comes where they started to think that probably you are the right candidate for that job or role. So they are in their mind, they started to think of really making you an offer. And their tone change and they are thinking, when can you start? What is your passion about this job? And what salary would be acceptable? Those type of questions started to come up. And you know that a job offer is coming up. So look at this process, extremely simple. It is just a conversation, right? As I said, that many employers, many HR department do a lot of other things like psychological test or other intelligence test. But look, end of the day, end of the process is all about just one conversation. Maybe it's the final interview with the hiring manager, but it's just one conversation where you impress them to a level where they started to think of making an offer to you. That is how the simple process. That's why I said that look, getting an interview probably more challenging. You have to do a lot of work, but once you're in the interview process, it's only just one conversation. That's it, nothing else. Your degrees and education and certification and experience, everything is already verified, already done. They just want to talk to you and really develop the feeling that whether their perceived value matches with the reality or not. Now, based on this simple process, I could tell you that when I was a candidate in the when I was CFO, of course, I considered myself always available in the job market. I never applied in the last 10, 12, 15 years, but I was always available. And based on that, to me, the one thing which was very clear that look, you need to ensure that the first step, getting an interview, is done very well. So my profile was very visible, my branding was very strong, my marketing was very strong, but I was not actively applying the job. But when someone approached me and they offered me an interview and I accepted it, my success rate was almost 50%. Every two interviews, I was able to get one offer without any doubt because I did my work very well, preparing for the first step, getting an interview. Interview was a piece of cake for me because it was just a conversation, right? If you do a good conversation, you get an offer. That's how I had a very high offer rate. So, folks, this is all about mindset first. I'm still not in the tactics. So the purpose I decided this design or structure of this webinar series, because I really want to take time to explain to you in detail, what is this? Because not many people really get it. They just jump on the tactics. What should I put in my resume? Whether it should be 2 page, 3 page, 5 page. Those are tactics and those don't matter much. What really matters is your strategy. And your strategy is based on your mindset, the way you approach things. If you have reasonable qualification and experience and expertise, then rest is really a mind game. So we have reached to understanding, very clear understanding, that really it's a matter of just conversation. But look, it looks simple, it's not that simple. So the question is, how do you build your conversation skills? Do you have those conversation skills or not? And what you need for those conversation skills? Now, some of you may naturally have it, but I know that majority of people, it's not about really chatting with your friend. You need to have a very formal set of skills to deliver that level of conversation to get an offer. So three things. Number one, developing your confidence. whether you have the confidence to really, you are sitting in front of a hiring manager, you know that this is very important decision they are going to make for you. Do you have the confidence to talk very impressively? That's number one. Number two, creating innovative ideas. So it's not about just talking about yourself, because everybody could do that. What are you talking about is also very important. Contents. See, whenever someone is talking something very importantly, something innovative, people listen very carefully. Now, all of you guys are listening to me because I'm talking something different, a little different than most people will tell you, right? That's innovation, because I have gone through myself through this process, and then I every day observe and do the research, what is working, what is not working. So it becomes innovative ideas which you are listening very carefully, right? So creating innovative ideas, that's number two. Number three, delivering the conversation, communicating your ideas. There comes your communication skills. How professionally, how fluently, how confidently you're delivering those ideas, right? So simple, right? Confidence, innovation, and communication. So what do you need to do to develop these three skills? To develop the confidence, it's not about the just confidence standing up and smiling, but really we are talking about a business environment. As I said, that imagine yourself, you are sitting with a seasoned, very senior level of business professional, and you want to impress them. What would you talk? Now, for finance professional especially, my advice is that don't try to impress others with your financial background and knowledge. They know it that you are an accountant. They know it, right? They know that you have all the IFRS by heart. It's not about financial knowledge and background. It's about business knowledge. So to develop that level of confidence, develop the business knowledge or business strategy knowledge. Because once you feel that you know more than average person on a topic, suddenly the confidence comes up. Think of any situation where you're sitting with the friends and someone is started to talk, but you know that on that particular subject, nobody has better knowledge than yourself. How confidently you debate that? How confidently you chat with them at that time when you realize you have more knowledge. And look, this happened with me. I learned this hard way. So quick story, personal story. Earlier in my career, I was a very shy person, very introvert, very shy. And I had a lot of difficulty and challenge having a social talk. So I was always isolated. And then I realized that, look, this is not going to work. My whole career would be ruined if I keep like that. So I was very studious. My grades were always top. I could read books after books after books. So what I did at that time, I started to read business books. And as I read more and more books, it gave me confidence that I know much more than other people. My colleagues in the office, they don't know as much I know by reading those books. Then with that confidence, I started to participate in those conversations. And I realized that it's working very well. I'll give you one example that when I was in Singapore working for the Asia Pacific Regional Organization, 14 countries, I fortunately was able to convince my top leadership team that we should do an activity based costing project in the region. And to sell that idea to the president of the region or other senior management team, I read, believe me, 14 books on activity based costing. That is how well I prepared myself. It was not my interview, but I was so passionate to do that project that I prepared very well. So I don't expect you to do that, but at least you can understand the one extreme situation. How does it work? So developing your confidence developed by business knowledge or strategy knowledge, very interesting topic and areas. That's number one. To develop your innovation or innovative ideas, you need to develop strategic thinking. And honestly, not many people really understand what does it mean by strategic thinking. They think that's thinking a little bit in detail or talking more about something is strategic. It's not. There's a different framework available, and there's a different topic to talk some other time. But you need to learn how to develop those strategic thinking. Strategic thinking is, for example, thinking of new technologies coming up, emerging technologies like blockchain, and then taking your background of the financial knowledge or the financial experience and combining the two, that how the blockchain would replace the general ledger, something like that. That if you could really concentrate on that part and develop some ideas, that would be strategic thinking. And imagine that you are sitting for a job interview for the CFO and you are sharing your thought on blockchain in combining with the how we could improve an effectiveness of the journal ledger. That becomes very interesting for your listeners, right? So that's number two. Number three, to communication, practice, practice, practice. Because you may think that I'm a good talker, maybe with your friend, but again, think of the situation when you're sitting with a top business person, hiring manager, or maybe some other senior level CFOs, and you are talking. Your talk should be delivered in a very professional manner. So this only comes through practice. There is no shortcut. In order to learn swimming, you need to jump into the water. There is no other way out. So my advice is quick advice that those of you who struggle, please join the Toastmaster Club in your city. There is no shortage of Toastmaster Club. At least you would get some platform to talk in front of other people or present in other people through a professional platform on a weekly basis. So that would help you. So look, let me wrap it up for the two steps process. So we talked about getting an interview, getting a job, and getting a job is easier than getting an interview because you just need to deliver one conversation. And how you deliver the conversation? Through developing your confidence, through developing some innovative thoughts, and also practicing your communication or speech delivery. This is another deep framework you need to understand. Because as I said, that it's really 80-90% is the mind game, and 10-20% what you do actually in terms of tactics. So think of this framework. If you look at the picture I'm showing you, there are four parts of it, starting from the bottom. Your inner game. Your inner game is basically about your mindset. That's a starting point. And as we move through the inner game or mindset, next thing we talk about is outer game, or outer game is equivalent to your personal brand. The third thing on top of it is what you offer to the world or to the market. That's your talent, right? And how do you offer? That's your marketing. So these are the four very important components for your career strategy or a job search strategy long term. Now, you look at the two sides, old paradigm and new paradigm. The old paradigm, what most people are still doing, and it's not working, right? It's not working, but they don't realize that the game has changed. So let me explain to you what has changed and what is working, what is not working. So let's look again from the bottom, inner game. So what is inner game? What is your mindset? Now, the biggest problem nowadays, whether you're employed or not employed, is the fear of job security because of the corporate culture and the environment today. So there are a lot of other things as well on the mindset, but this is the biggest thing which is impacting the performance of most professionals. If you are employed, it's the fear of job security. If you are not employed, you're looking for a job, it's the fear of not getting a job ever. I know it's very common. I've gone through it. So you started to develop a feeling that probably you are not going to get job ever in your life, right? That's a fear. On the personal brand, what we offer. So personal brand is like I'm a finance professional. I know IFRS deeply. I know how to reconcile books, and I have 20 years finance experience. That's the personal brand we try to offer. Our talent, we could say that I have CPA done 20 years ago or chartered accountancy and 15, 20 years experience in finance with this role. And how do we offer that? So you make copies of your CV and resume, and you started to send 500 resume every day, assuming that the number game would really work for you. And then you started to get frustrated. So not every one of you, but I think most of the professionals, whether they are employed or unemployed, if they are looking for a new job or new career opportunity, that's what their paradigm is. That's what they think they need to really focus on those things. And as I said, it's not working. So what is working? Let's look at the new paradigm. So let's just start from the marketing first. So what is working? Chasing jobs is not working. You need to attract jobs or attract opportunities. How do you do that? Not by sending resumes, by creating your visibility and online presence. Now, let me just qualify that. Don't take me wrong that I'm stopping you completely forbidding not to send resumes and CVs. You can send selectively. It still works, but don't try to publish your CV and resume on all platforms. Be very selective. But mostly If you really want to move towards the 10% top talent, then you need to really think of how do you create a very strong visibility and presence. So what you offer, what is your talent? Now, your talent is not your really your CA or CPA or MBA or 20, 15 years experience. Your talent is your current skills. What can you do today? What are your talents? What you could deliver? What you could do for your employer? What are your achievements in the recent past? You may have 20 years experience as a senior manager, but if you do not have the skills which are required in today's time, you are not as much worth for the employers as another person with shorter experience could be. So shorter or longer experience doesn't count. What counts your skills, talent, and your achievement. Having a 20 years career as a vice president but really have no achievement doesn't matter. But if you have 5 years, 3 years experience with a lot of achievement to show, that really becomes your advantage. Next, what is your brand? Your brand is not financial expert. Your brand should be the business knowledge, the business expert, the strategic leadership. Because that's given. I'm not saying that finance background or information or knowledge is not relevant. It's relevant, but you don't need to really publicize this. Everybody knows that you are a financial expert. What you need to tell the world is about your business expertise, your business knowledge, and your strategic leadership knowledge. And finally, your inner game. Look at the entrepreneurs or the business people. What you think is a fear of job security, whether you're employed or not employed, they have this thing as a permanent mindset. Every day they have to prove their earning. They don't know what would be their earning tomorrow. They don't know who are the clients they would be working 2 months or 5 months or 6 months from now. It's a way of living for them. It's entrepreneurship. The problem is, especially if you have worked longer as an employee, we develop a mentality of receiving a paycheck, result or no results. We receive a guaranteed paycheck every month in our bank account. And the best analogy is really zoo animals. We become zoo animals. We have all the strength, all the capability, but if you take the zoo animals and free them in the jungle, they will die in 2 days because they don't know how to hunt. So look at these four components of your paradigm or your career strategy and see that where you are and what you need to change, what you need to do differently. And as I said earlier, everybody would not be able to move to 10% top talent. But look, the good news is if you are sitting in this webinar, listening carefully, I think you are already in the upper half. Let me tell you, upper half. I don't know whether you are 51% or you are 90%, but at least I could tell you are in the upper half. That's a big good news for you, right? And if maybe you are in the 80 percentile or 7 percentile, then it's easier for you to move to the top 10%. But you are already quite closer by showing your interest to learn these things, and everything is possible. Continuing with the mindset, 7 keys to your survival through transition. So whether you are, as I said, employed or unemployed, you're looking for a new job or you're looking for new opportunity, keep these things in your mind. Number one, give yourself at least 6 months. If you lost your job and you are in panic, don't panic. 6 months is the average time for a transition. Now, the benefit is that if you accept that in the beginning, you are going to save a lot of your energy. Typically, what happens that people lose their jobs if it is especially unplanned, and they get into panic. They want to see their next job in the next day or next week or next month. It doesn't happen that way, except for a few exceptions. So take a deep breath. That's part of the reality. Nothing wrong with you or with your performance mostly. It's just part of the corporate environment or business world. So take 6 months, plan for 6 months. Make arrangement for your finances so you don't worry about those things. Make arrangement of your schedules. Take 6 months as your vacation time. Enjoy it. So that's number one mindset. Number two, develop a big picture perspective. As we are talking in this session and the previous session, try to develop a macro level understanding what the market is, what are the opportunities. Look, if there are challenges, there are always opportunities. And as a matter of fact, in my opinion, many times opportunities come wrapped into problems. So you look at, don't run away from the problems, try to understand that. Many times you are dealing a problem and that becomes your opportunity. It only happens when you have a big picture perspective. Number three, take it as an opportunity to redefine and reposition yourself. If it happened by accident, you did not plan for it, and suddenly you are in the job market looking for a job, it's an opportunity from God. It happened with me, believe me. The 16 years of my career I spent with the company I thought I would spend my life were very different than the remainder 16 years after that I spent. I completely changed me, changed my profile, changed my positioning, changed my brand, changed my life, really. And I'm so grateful to God that God created that opportunity for me to redefine and reposition myself. So take it that way and try to make a clean start. Uh, no entitlement. This means that if you have been a vice president, and what happens again, many times people think, oh, I was the vice president, so I should really look at least for vice president and senior level. Look, first of all, these levels are meaningless. Different companies have different titles. Many companies have much stronger, powerful controller than a vice president or CFO level even. So what you need to see, what is your talent? What is your competencies? What you want to do? And what is the job? Forget the titles. Even salary, you need to be considerate that for some people it's very important, some people it may not be that important, but look the total picture, not one title or one salary. Try to make a fresh start that when you redefine and reposition yourself, what is the best deal for you? Or if you have an office in your previous job and the new job is not offering an office, that's meaningless. That doesn't count really. So before jumping on the tactics, try to create a job search strategy, which means that which industries are applicable to your expertise, which regions you want to really apply or relocate yourself into the future, what level of jobs you really want, and what should be the strategy, what should be the networking, what are the people you want to contact, you want people you don't want to contact. So create an overall strategy before you jump into the tactics. And for 6 months, as I said, that it could be faster, quicker. It could be 3 months, 4 months, or it could be 7 or 8 or 9 months. But 6 months is the average time. So for 6 month plan a very well planned schedule, rigid schedule rather. Identify milestones like what you want to see results in 1 month. Now, result is not only the job. Result is how many people you have contacted, how many direct contacts now you have in your LinkedIn profile, how many people you have shared this situation with them, how many calls have come from recruiters, or how many people have visited your profile, these type of things. So even if for 6 months you don't get a job, at least it would give you a sense of progress that you are getting closer to your target and objective. And finally, network. That's the key. So whatever you are doing, don't isolate yourself. Now, you can also do networking sitting at home, but main thing is that don't isolate yourself, because what happens when people started to get results are not coming, they started to get frustrated and getting disappointed, they started to isolate themselves and losing energy very fast. So you need to really plan, very well plan for this 6 months time period. So I would like to take a pause here and look at the question box. What are the resources to attain strategic thinking? Now, it's actually a framework. I do have a very detailed framework which I use in my strategy program. It's a step by step, as you could imagine, that strategic thinking is not something which you could learn overnight or learn in one session or one day training. It's more related to habits. And to develop the habits, it takes time, first of all, but it's very important that you are moving into the right direction, learning the right things. So very quickly, if I could explain that, start reading business magazines or business books, talk to the people who are more knowledgeable, try to create an dialogue with them, question and answer, and try to look at those information and develop your own ideas. For example, I gave you a very good examples of blockchain and accounting system. Look at that, read few articles or books, and then see that as finance professional, what new things comes in your mind, and share that. Don't hesitate. The big blockade to strategic thinking is about, again, fear that if I share this idea with anyone, they would laugh on it. Let them laugh, but they will at least appreciate that you are coming up with some new ideas. That is how you develop it, and it happens, but it takes some time. Okay, next question is, what should your LinkedIn career interest setting be? Actively applying, or casually looking, or not looking but open to? Look, first of all, I think you need to change your mindset. LinkedIn is basically a place for networking. So it doesn't mean that people who are well employed, they don't need to be on the LinkedIn, or only the unemployed people have to be the LinkedIn. That's completely wrong. So develop a mindset of networking, that I need to really connect with other people. That's a starting point. And as you pass through that point, then it would be clear to yourself whether when you need to apply, when you need to casually looking. I advise you, if you really have an ambition to become a top candidate, you need to spend at least 30 minutes every day on LinkedIn, or maybe 2 to 3 hours on a weekend on LinkedIn on a regular basis, just for networking. And again, this is a separate topic to talk about what is networking in LinkedIn. You can check some of my previous blogs, which would explain you. But networking is a lot more easier nowadays compared to the old fashioned type of networking, where you have to go to the networking events and spend whole day or half day. I mean, look, I work from my home right now in this, and every day I talk to hundreds of people, and I'm well connected all around the world sitting at my home. That's the beauty of this technology. Best advice for transition from one industry to another: look at your skill set first. Forget the roles. If you are in this industry and you want to move to another industry, what are the common skills? What have you been doing in this industry? And looking at their core skills, how could you apply to that other industry? And then try to develop a resume, or job profile, a personality profile, in a way that you could relate those expertise and skills from previous industry to a new industry. And you can also learn new skills if you are really very interested to move in another industry. See what skills are required and what you could develop, not only that what you already have, but what you could develop. Okay, what books would you recommend to increase knowledge in business strategy? Look, in my home library, there are at least 25 books. So I'm not sure if you are willing to go through 25, but there are a couple. As I said, that if you could go my previous blogs. By the way, those of you who have these type of basic questions, just check my YouTube channel. And there are, I think, 30, 40 videos, which are basically the recording or replays of my session like this, or my blogs, or my speeches. So a lot of your basic question would be answered there. And there are some books recommended as well. How to search hidden jobs through net. As per your last session, around 70% jobs are hidden. How we can find these hidden opportunities? Look, these opportunities are there, but they are hidden. That's the problem. So as I said, the process has reversed broadly. You need to ensure that you are well placed. You are very well visible as a top candidate. So you need to work on your visibility. You need to work on your branding, and then ensure that you're visible. And then try to do the networking. Networking, the crudest way or the worst way to do the networking for a job is to send a request on LinkedIn to someone to connect. And as soon as that person connects, the next text message you send, can you get me a job, or can I find a job through you? That's the worst example, worst extreme. Never ever do that. Never. As a matter of fact, my general advice: never ask directly for a job to anyone, even your friend. But just tell them indirectly that you are looking for an opportunity, and if they know anyone who could help or who could be the right candidate, better take the name of the company or your target company and ask them that, do you know anyone? And they say, why? Look, there is a position and I'm looking to network with someone. That's the best way to really approach. So you convey that you are looking for something, but don't pressure the person, because once you ask directly, even it is a CEO of a company, they get pressured. They started to run away from you, and you don't want to do that. How to create quality experience and achievement in your job if no big challenges are there for the profile. Look, I understand all these things. As I said, there are many questions. I'm glad that you're asking it. I understand many of you are in situations where you want to become a top candidate, but there are no opportunity, no experiences for you. And you are just locked in that unless you have some experience, how could you really learn those things? Networking is very important. So just as an example, what we have created in MECA of Academy is the network of people. Now, the people who have gone through those programs, I'm not working anymore with them because I'm busy with a lot of other things, but they have created their own networking groups. And there is one group called Strategic CFO Group. This is again purely voluntary. This is not a training program. There are more than 100 people who are connected on a WhatsApp group and they keep talking themselves. So first of all, they are learning strategic thinking by challenging each other and sharing ideas. Number two, we do strategy projects. They do strategy projects actually themselves. They group of people, they decide a company like Amazon or Microsoft, and they do a dig into the research and then present to other groups. So what they are trying to do, they are trying to create a pseudo environment that look, if there are no opportunities, similar things to learn at their workplace, why not do it with your network? Now, advantage is at network, they are all like-minded, they are all expert, they are all capable. So you basically, instead of wasting your time waiting for your next job where you would learn these things, no, you continue with your job because that's economically very important for you, but at the same time you get involved with your network, other professionals, and keep learning. That's very important, that you don't just wait for new opportunity but keep working somehow. Okay, how do you navigate internal politics to get the necessary opportunities if you are in a large organization, that is data analytics or blockchain? Or do I just apply externally for those roles without that experience? Look, if you are part of a large organization, there are always a lot of initiatives going on. If you are in a large organization, I'm sure there must be someone must be considering or looking at blockchain initiatives and a lot of other things. So nobody would come directly to you with an offer that please join this project. You need to do your networking. You need to do your intelligence, talking to other people, not only sitting all the time in finance, but talking to other people outside. Whenever you have an opportunity to talk to the CFO level or senior level people, show your ambition, show your desire that you want to work on a challenging projects or new technology projects, and that is how you create opportunity for you. But you could also look outside, but I think in a larger organization there are always such opportunities available. How to ask someone when you need a job on LinkedIn network? Again, I think I already explained that the best way is really to show your interest, show your desire that you are in the job market, but don't ask anyone directly. Even someone is a hiring manager, don't ask that person that do you have a job for me? Never ever. But just show indirectly the intent that, as I said, that for example, take the name of a company and say that look, they have a position and I'm looking for that position to network. Do you know anyone in that company? But that's an easy thing for them to do. You remain in touch with them, they feel good about helping you with that, and that is how you, the biggest achievement you make here is letting those people know that you're looking for an opportunity and not pressuring them by directly asking. So that's what you do, and the more and more you do, of course it's expanding network. My daughter did that very smartly. She was looking for a job in New York in the marketing, and she did not apply many places or almost no places. And but she did very well some networking. So one person asking to another person to another person to another person. She was well known in that circle for a while. So while she was working on an opportunity, another director level person in another competing company, who basically she did not ask for a job but just for the networking, during that process that person already made an offer to her, so she had two offers in her hand. While the company she was targeting, they made an offer to her, but the someone she used just to connect, they realized this is a hard candidate, right? And they made an offer to the to my daughter. So this is also I explained in the last session that look, market respects the people who are in demand. And when you show your desperation that I'm badly actively looking for a job, people have started to run away. Now, is it fair? Absolutely not. But look, this is the brutal world we are living in. And we need to deal with this brutality with some tactics or strategies, right? So never show your desperation. Always try to create an impression that you are in demand, you are not in a hurry. That would create more opportunities for you. Okay, can we have WhatsApp group link for strategic thinking you talked about? No, that's an exclusive group. I just gave an example that you could create another group on your own with your friends. And there are people. That group is already 130 people, and all those people have gone through a strategy program. So they have some. It's not publicly open. I just explained you what works, what does not work. Okay, how to know the base salary and best negotiation salary if the positive title is unique unique to organization. Good. At least someone is asking this advanced level question that if I get an offer, then how to negotiate. Look, it's again a different topic about the negotiation. I would say that not any job is only about salary. Salary is important, but a lot of other things really matter. And whenever you negotiate, you need to look in the total perspective, that what is the position, what is the title, what is the prospect, what is the future. If you are younger, like in 20s or 30s, always look for the future prospects. One of my follower or one of my students just yesterday asked me an advice. He got a CFO offer from another company, another location, and he's already working in another better location. And he asked me that I'm confused whether I should accept the CFO offer or not. Salary was not very high. And I said, this is a blessing. At the age of 32, if you get a CFO offer, CFO title, it's a blessing. Jump on it. Jump on it, because this is really going to reward you a lot. So sometimes, if very strategically, you make a sacrifice for the current role, but don't forget that if you do some sacrifice, your future employer, the subsequent employer, probably would pay you much better. Or let's take this way. If you are working for a company and you think that you could do much harder or much better work if they increase your salary, don't tie it up with the salary. Try to do your best. And believe me, if you are underpaid, if you think you are underpaid with your current employer, your next employer would overcompensate you, because what you are doing, even with lower salary, doing your best performance, you are developing your talent and your skill. And if not the current employer, your next employer would respect that talent and they will pay you better or more than what you are sacrificing. So develop that mindset that time is very important. No matter what, you would continue develop yourself. You would continue learning new things. And if not currently, at least in future, you would be paid very well.